Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyeyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Tuesday, December 23rd. This is our Christmas show. So we're going to have this show. Obviously, not going to have a show on Thursday because of Christmas. Merry Christmas to everyone out there. Happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, whatever you are celebrating. So we're going to talk about USC and Notre Dame. That's no longer a thing, at least until 2030. So we'll discuss that. We'll talk about Notre Dame adding BYU. I believe Notre Dame has one more game that they need to add, Jamie. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I only have 11. So they need to add one more game. We'll talk about that. We'll talk portal stuff. There might be some Marcus Freeman chat in the chat here, or some conversation in the chat. Nothing really to say. Either he signs the deal or he doesn't at this point. That's kind of what we're waiting for. When that happens. So there's not much else to talk about on the Marcus Freeman front, but whatever anyone brings up in the chat, we can discuss that as well. So thank you everyone for tuning in today. If you like what you hear, hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know whenever it is we are going live. And as always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. He is Chicago's go-to for the best custom shirts and sport coats. It's not too late if you need to step into one of their showrooms in Chicago and Winnetka and book a custom fitting at at ESQ Clothing. You can step into confidence with Chicago's finest. But if maybe you got someone a gift card, right, and you got someone a gift card at ESQ Clothing, you can always do that as well. For like your husband, father, son, nephew, whatever it might be. They're known for their next level craftsmanship using their finest fabrics. ESQ has introduced a 100% Pima cotton t-shirt to go along with its award-winning bamboo dress shirt, available for purchase online. As I mentioned, they've got showrooms both downtown Chicago and in Winnetka. You can book your custom fitting at esqclothing.com. Step into confidence with Chicago's finest. Mention ISD at your appointment or use the code ISD at checkout and receive 10% off your entire purchase. Coach Hump says, Merry Christmas, Greg. Merry Christmas and a happy Boxing Day to Jamie. So happy Boxing Day, Jamie. You're on the West Coast. That's nice.
I'm on the West Coast.
You're on the West Coast with me. Welcome. All right, Jamie. USC and Notre Dame. It's off. Well, I mean, I think if you follow me on Twitter, I've made my thoughts on this fairly clear. USC's been talking about this since July of 2024. They didn't want to play the game.
Yeah, since Big Ten media days before that year.
Yeah. So they didn't want to play the game. And to be honest, I understand that because they do have – it's a very tough Big Ten schedule that they have, right? And so I get it on that front. Just don't do the thing where it's the MOU or it's the committee, the way they punish teams. Don't do that. Just own it. You didn't want to play the game, and that's basically it. All this stuff leaking to the LA Times, leaking to Dan Wolken about new
Dan
language.
What a shameless loser. Seriously, I don't care. Meet me in a press box, Dan Wolken. It's been a tough couple of days for him. His latest reporting was completely refuted by Nicole Auerbach, by the way, who made it clear that every Big Ten team knew in advance, like all 18 members of the Big Ten knew in advance of the MOU. It just, it doesn't hold up under any sort of scrutiny. But what are your thoughts, Jamie? People have heard from me. What are your thoughts on this? Well, first off, thank you to Lincoln Riley and Jen Cohen, because there's just been extreme vitriol towards Notre Dame about everything with the CFP involved. Like all the haters were out, and now only Dan Wolken is the only guy left who's still just
the last man standing.
Yeah, who hasn't turned his hate on USC for this, because it's just obvious. It's the thing is too is like anyone. I mean, he's like basically just spouting their talking points on Twitter, which is just, I mean, it's really atrocious that he's doing it. But
I mean, it's unbecoming.
It really, honestly, it's you can't call yourself a journalist, really.
Yeah.
And do it. Not that I ever would have called him a journalist, or I would have called him a hack columnist for years. He's always been terrible, but I don't mind saying it. He's terrible. There's a lot of people who are really good at the job. He's not one of them. I don't even know how he was able to pivot into another national column after losing his previous one. He's not good. But he's a troll, and trolls can do their thing, and that's what he's doing. He's just trolling. But I think the thing is with all this, like you said, we've talked about this for a long time, and I think we knew that it was, even if they played this year, it was going this way anyways. Like it was not, they weren't going to be playing it. Like it didn't matter, right? Like this was bound to happen. They were looking for ways out of it. They were looking for ways out of it. I think it says everything. The reaction of the players and like the alumni, how outraged they are by it. And honestly, it'd be the same if it was in Notre Dame's direction too, and Notre Dame would deserve it. Absolutely. Right. Like, Keyshawn Johnson's not like a guy that I usually point to as like, hey, check out what this guy's saying about this. Like he's really on point, but he was totally on point. Everything he said about like, why are they even playing college football anymore? Like what's the point? And it's true. He talked about how Auburn, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, USC, that is the realm that the rivalry is in. And we've been really open about how not playing Navy going forward, it makes sense in so many more ways for Notre Dame because of it's all risk and no reward.
Right.
There is no reward. Like Navy finished 10-2 this year. The only team they lost to was North Texas, who made the AAC championship game. And Notre Dame. That's it. So that's the only other thing. They were a 10-win team. Notre Dame got zero credit for that.
They beat them 49-10.
Beat them 49-10.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Even if Blake Horvath played, it doesn't matter. Like they would have gotten. It would have been the same thing. That helped in no way to do it. Right. Because now, like, unless you're playing, it's just like how that Boise State game. Even though they beat Boise State, great. Boise State won the Mountain West because Boise State wasn't, a CFP team like they were last year. They didn't really get credit for that. But guess what? You expect that because that's a game you're scheduling. You're trying to pick a game there, right? Like you're picking a game, an opponent there, right? It's not someone who's on annually on your schedule. But if you lose the Navy game, it's all you can do is go down in everyone's eyes. And if you win it, you just stay the same. Well, USC is basically saying the risk of losing, basically not even the risk of losing, the inevitability of losing. They expect to lose that game. That's
right.
Well, and I guess it makes sense. They've lost 6 of the last 7, 7 of the last 8, whatever it is, right? They've lost that many times, and the rivalry is flipped. Things haven't been going good. They're even when you thought, like, year one of Lincoln Riley, things might be flipping back. No, it hasn't flipped back that way. And I would say if they played this year too, even with they bringing in the number 1 recruiting class, they're not set up well for this next year. Like that is not a team. Jada Maeva's coming back. Great for them. They still aren't set up well. They're not set up well on both sides of the line of scrimmage. They aren't set up well receivered in the same way that they have been. They're basically going to rely on a lot of that freshman class to play. That's never a good thing. I don't care how good the freshman class is. It's never been a good thing. And so there's a good chance that they're going to be pretty, I would say at best, they're like a 9 to 10 win team if everything goes right for them next year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how it is. But now one of the things that they had on their schedule was if they would have played Notre Dame, let's say they were 9-2, the whole scenario of like, well, Notre Dame being ahead of them, they would never rank Notre Dame ahead of them.
Why would anyone think that? That is so preposterous. Like, especially given what happened this year.
Yes. They would never rank Notre Dame ahead of them if they had the same record. If they won that game.
If they won the game.
They won that game.
Look what they did. They played Miami week 1.
Yeah.
And they still bumped them. It did, like
in the last game of the season, it would never happen. And so yes, if there's a chance that they were 9-2 and Notre Dame beat them at the end, they could be in and then could be out.
Right. Right.
Sure.
That's the concern.
That's the concern. But they could be out at 9-2 and beat Notre Dame and get in.
Right.
And that is the reward. And it's the same reward that has been there for friggin' decades. That has been there forever. Listen, all of these things go back to, I can't go back to like some of the old, whatever, like past era Parsegian. I can't go past back that in terms of like what my knowledge of everything from there. But I could tell you, because I've read like a lot of books on that time of like Era's first year. Jim Dent wrote a great book. I highly recommend. I can't remember. I think it was Revival was the name. Highly recommend reading it. And it talked about, right? And that was one of the things, is that Notre Dame lost the USC game in that first year. And it was a crushing thing. It ended up, they didn't win a national championship, all that kind of stuff. But that's the risk involved. But the reward is, if they won that game, they're winning a friggin' natty. And that is the part of it that's there. Caleb Williams winning the Heisman. That's part of it, because one of the things with like Jeremiah Love this year, and I know he didn't get to finish the Stanford game, but when that's USC, he gets a chance to, and if he had that statement game against USC at the end of the year, he can win a Heisman. Right. That's part of it. That's part of the matchup. That's part of the rivalry. It's the exact same thing with Ohio State and Michigan. It is the kind of thing that propels a team. Like, that's the thing. Michigan this year, and I know no one was picking Michigan to beat Ohio State this year, but if they beat Ohio State this year, they went from way out, they were in. They would have made the college football playoff. That's part of the rivalry. That's the value of that. Now, this is just hilarious too. That this there's no way this hold got called too, but that's the beauty of the rivalry. That's the thing that makes it so special and different. And I mean, kudos to Pete Bavacqua and Notre Dame for adding BYU, because I think that that is a game that will, if they win it, obviously there's risk in losing it, but if they win it, that game will help them, because BYU, I think it's pretty safe to say that they're going to be one of the best teams in the Big 12 most years.
Yeah.
And probably the next couple of years, like their quarterback was a freshman this year. They're going to be like, a Bachmeier, like they're going to be pretty good next year. They're probably going to be right there with Texas Tech again. So, and BYU sees if they beat Notre Dame there, that's like a feather in their cap that nobody else in the Big 12 will have. So if they have and then certainly then more teams in the ACC would have, then more teams in the Big 10 would have. That's why you schedule those games. That's the whole point of it. And you had that built into your schedule, and now they won't have that into their schedule. And now they're going to go the Indiana route, I guess. Like they're going to do that kind of thing. Like as Keyshawn said, might as well just play UC Davis and Sacramento State every year. And and you would know better than anyone, Greg. In LA, they obviously they like a winner, but they want to care. Like they care about like big time matchups and whatever. It's one of the only games people care about for USC. They're not first of all, they're not going to even Oregon. They don't play Oregon every year based on the Big Ten schedule.
Right.
That's not a built-in rivalry. They just have UCLA, and maybe Bob Chesney makes them pretty good or whatever. But like, even if that game is whatever, no one cares about that game nationally. They don't. They care about it in LA. No one cares about that game nationally. So basically, all the games that they play will just be like, hey, well, they have Ohio State on the schedule this year, or they have this team on the schedule this year.
Yeah.
And that's it. And because no one cares about Iowa. No one cares about any of these. Even Michigan coming to town. Like, I'm sure that was like, hey, that's a cool thing. But like Sharon Moore, obviously the guy's got a lot of problems. He got a lot of things going on. But he was right when he said that, yeah, they care about this game because Michigan's coming to town. That's 100% right. They wouldn't have cared about that USC game if it was anybody else other than Michigan, unless it was Ohio State or whoever. Like, that's it. And you're just throwing that away. It is so funny because the next AD and the next coach, automatic W for the coach and the AD to come in. And the first thing they do is say, we're going to get Notre Dame back in the schedule every year. There's probably going to be standing ovation for them in the press conference. That's just an automatic W. And yet they're just Jen Cohen and Lincoln Riley just happy to take the L's.
Yeah. There's a question about why Notre Dame wouldn't want to play in week 0. So the first game of the year is against Wisconsin at Lambeau. So a road game, essentially. It's not a home game, right? You feel like in Lambeau, there's going to be a lot of Wisconsin fans at the game, right? It's essentially a road game for them. So the idea is first, and your schedule's already front loaded anyway.
Yeah.
With September games, you're trying to get games in November, which is how Notre Dame has set up their schedule for the last 40, 50 years, right? So that's why you don't want to go to LA and then you go on the road again, right? That is not in Notre Dame's best interest, right? It is not Notre Dame's responsibility to capitulate to USC because of their wants and needs. That is not their responsibility. The rivalry has been set up at the time it is with the format that it is. When Notre Dame is at home, they play in October. When they're on the road, they play in November. That has been the format at USC's request for this entire time. So, like, the idea that it's Notre Dame's responsibility to compromise and do what USC wants, I don't understand how that's a compromise in any way. That's just Notre Dame capitulating to the team that can't beat them.
Yeah.
So that so that the game means something for Notre Dame, but it means nothing to USC. Like, that is the idea, right? For a school that is so concerned about travel, being USC, it's interesting to me that they feel like somehow the end of season game for Notre Dame going to LA is advantageous for Notre Dame in some kind of way.
Yeah,
if you look back, Notre Dame's performances in the Coliseum recently are awful. I've talked about this before. They never play well in the Coliseum. Well, I shouldn't say
they don't play up to the same stand. Yes, exactly.
They don't because it's different. It's difficult to go to the Coliseum and play at the end of the year, right? And that's it. But the thing is that's Notre Dame's decision, right? That is their choice because of the conference thing and all that. And they've done that favor for USC for this entire time. Now, USC isn't even asking for a favor. They're asking for capitulation. That's not Notre Dame's responsibility. So in the sense that, like, if someone wants to say, oh,
they're asking it to, because they know that Notre Dame will say no. Because it makes no sense.
They're throwing in a poison pill and saying, oh, I'm offering you this poison pill. Why don't you take it?
Yeah.
And Notre Dame doesn't want to do that. Like, it's a disingenuous ask. So, like,
yes,
USC knows how to keep the rivalry going, just to do what they've always done. It's so weird to me how people are fixated on this, this idea that Notre Dame needs to compromise. Well, I don't understand. Notre Dame has not changed anything about their structure. USC has. They are the ones that need to compromise. That's the part that I don't understand. They are the ones who chose to leave the Pac-12. They are the ones who changed who they fundamentally are. Notre Dame has not. Notre Dame has stayed the same. So that part of it, I don't understand. Go ahead.
And sorry to interrupt, but like the big thing with that is, first of all this stuff could have been done freaking years ago. They just decided to not get it done. If they really wanted it to be week 0 and all that, first of all, this Lambeau game was supposed to happen in 2020. Like that was when this game was supposed to happen. So that game wasn't there. If USC had the foresight, I don't know, I can't remember when Jen Cohen started as the AD there. I think it was 2023 or 2024. But that could have been something that if you really wanted this and wanted to push for that, you would say to Notre Dame, listen, we want to do this. And Notre Dame would look at it like, on a different year, it could be a different situation in terms of where if that all of a sudden becomes baked into your schedule that you are playing week 0 against USC every year or whatever it was, well, then guess what? You change your schedule and you base it around that. But this stuff has been years in the making. So when they're playing in 2028, when they're playing Texas on September 9th, they don't need to be playing USC week 0. Like, it's the exact same thing that all Notre Dame fans complain about this year. Like, right. And then they blamed it on Jack Swarbrick, and fair enough. You could put some blame on it because you get but the ACC did that to screw Notre Dame. Like, they did that because that's not a good thing for Notre Dame. Like, that is a helpful thing for Miami. So
that wasn't Notre Dame's decision. It was someone else's decision. They're not going to hamstring. Because here's the other part, right? You also have Marcus Freeman, your head coach, who's like looking at the NFL right now.
Yeah.
And I'll bet you he didn't like starting off with Miami and then Texas A&M to start the year. I bet you he didn't like that. And so you're going to go in league with your rival and make it harder for you and your head coach, who you just and they are the ones who they can't beat you. And so they're saying, okay, in order to make it more advantageous for us, we are going to put you in a disadvantageous situation. And Notre Dame's going to do that to Marcus Freeman. For what purpose?
Okay, so, and this is what I just saw on Twitter too, is that week 0 isn't even an option under current NCAA rules unless you're playing in Hawaii or playing overseas.
Oh my God.
So
they want to play in Mexico?
So that is under current NCAA rules. And in order to get an exemption, that gives USC, if they got that exemption, USC would get a third bye and get another huge advantage over the Big Ten in order to get that. Get out of here, US. Just get out of here forever. Like, it just shows how disingenuous it's not a real thing. That's not a real offer. That's why that thing, it's not, it's like saying like, well, we play them tomorrow. Like this is not to go in on Clark Lee again, but I'm going to do it because the whole Clark Lee and Diego Pavia and Vandy, first of all, hey, good luck to Vandy. I want to see what Vandy looks like. I know they got the 5-star kid coming in.
Yeah.
He's probably not going to be good right away. Bryce Underwood. Think about that. Just think about all this. There aren't guys who come in usually. There's very few Trevor Lawrences out there that come in and even Trevor Lawrence didn't start right away. It was like week 4 that he took over. But Vandy being like, well, we tried to schedule a game this week. It's like, yeah, you might have made some calls, but guess what? You can't. It's just like, it's like Deion Sanders saying, we're trying to play, another thing. We're trying to play another team in the spring. Yeah, that's not a thing. You can't do that. It's not in the rules. They're not just going to let you do that. Just like, it sounds good to your fans. It sounds good to your fans. It sounds good to these dumb, stupid Dan Wolken writers who talk about how well, obviously Vandy wants to play a bowl game, but Notre Dame doesn't. It's like, yeah, Notre Dame isn't saying they're trying to schedule an extra game because they know you can't. It's not in the rules. You can't just schedule a game out of nowhere. Not to mention, just logistically, it makes no sense because you have to book hotels and you have to do this and there's stadiums and whatever, all this kind of stuff. So basically, that is completely disingenuous too. It's the exact same thing. It is the exact same thing. It's not a real alternative. It's them coming up with it to make it sound like they really, really want to play it, even though it's not possible. It's not possible. And the thing is too, is that anyone with a brain sees through it. Anyone with a brain sees through it. And I mean, that's why you even see so Stuart Mandel is a guy who has been very much against okay, ND fans, stop complaining about the CFP and whatever. And I always see him going on Twitter about it. Well, guess what? He flipped immediately on USC because of this, because he's not a moron. He just anyone who's read the tea leaves knows that it's USC who has been doing this. That's why Nicole Arbrecht did the reporting, because she's an actual reporter and checked with the Big Ten. And it was like, yes, they all read the memorandum of understanding. They all signed off on it. And
unanimous consent.
Unanimous consent. Come on. Oh, so either USC consented and they didn't read the fine print, which means they're incompetent, or they're just lying, which they're probably lying.
They're probably lying.
Yeah.
And they're just using it that Notre Dame got heat, and they were like, this is our chance. We're going to go in on this, and we're going to get public support, and they didn't. But that's their bet. Jen Cohen was hired at USC August of 2023, by the way. So Notre Dame adds BYU. Okay. Obviously it's great for BYU, and it's also funny considering the bowl tie-in to that is the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and then their governor was spouting off. I know. That's a real F around and find out kind of situation there. Yeah. Notre Dame is going to BYU in 2026, and then BYU will come to Notre Dame in 2027. Look at it's the funny thing about this is everyone knows BYU is good, but what gives you more credit? Beating 9-2 BYU or beating 7-5 USC? Or what 8-3, USC, or 7-4 USC, or whatever it might be. Obviously USC has the bigger name, and that's always attached to it. And people like Bud Elliott will poo-poo Notre Dame beating BYU because that's kind of his shtick. But it is a good opponent. It's tough to go to Provo, as we've seen, and it's going to be a good environment. It's going to be a good scene. Depending on when the game is, that could be a game day type situation going to Provo. I know they would try to try to do that if both teams are highly ranked. So what do you think about that? And then they've got another game that they need to schedule. They need to get a 12th game on there. I tell you what, man.
I believe it's the Stanford
Is it the Stanford?
I think that's the Stanford thing that's hanging over there, which is another game that if you look at it, and that is a completely different thing than the USC rivalry. Obviously, it's not has been as long. It is a rivalry, whatever. They played it for years, and obviously there was the time during that during the time when the Harbaugh and Shaw had it going, and frankly, Stanford was kind of kicking ass. That would have been a totally different time for Notre Dame to be like, we're opting out of this. Now, things are different there. And because of the landscape of the Pac-12 and how they are in the ACC and where they're at, like Stanford, that is a game where you could see Notre Dame getting out of it. But now they kind of need the game. So it's like, I kind of figured like you're probably going to have to agree to probably a few more years, at least with, a few more matchups with Stanford, because you're just going to have to do that. I think at BYU, first of all, don't play anyone in the Big 12 but BYU. I think that
Why
is
not
my
Texas Tech?
They won't play Notre Dame. If they wanted to play Notre Dame, hey, sure. Okay. Especially because Joey McGuire has said, basically like, hey, join a conference and you're in.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. Every time Joey McGuire speaks, he makes no sense other than to just bring up Notre Dame's name. That's basically it. Like he was asked a question, like completely. What do you think about the CFP format? Notre Dame should join a conference. Okay, thank you, Joey McGuire.
Yeah, it's. I don't think Texas Tech. It's funny because they're not going to schedule big out of conference games because it's just they're not. And the other thing is like, why no one is going to want to go to Lubbock and all that,
right,
and all that. But I don't see them wanting that. I think if they do want the game, that is the kind of game that I think that Notre Dame's like, okay, you're the big new guy on the block. Let's see what you got. Let's play you. Or that'd be a perfect one to be like, hey, Texas Tech, we're going to play you. Let's play in Kansas City or something like that, right? You're going to play there, like neutral site kind of thing, like something, some kind of game. Not where you're playing like Jerry World in Texas, but you're playing somewhere relatively, you're going to get a lot of Notre Dame fans there, get a lot of Texas Tech fans, something like that. That'd be fun if they did that. But the only one you'd want to schedule like a home and home with, I think, is BYU. One, because they have a history of playing BYU.
Yeah. And
one, BYU has also been the team that has very much historically
they've been better year over year. Yeah.
Historically, they've been better year over year, but also historically, they've been an outsider. And they know that they've been like, it's like they left the Mountain West and they were like hanging in the balance. And Notre Dame was one of the teams that scheduled them. And believe me, all that kind of stuff does matter when it's like, hey, we were looking for teams for anyone to kind of play us. And we couldn't play anybody. And we had to play some of these Sun Belt teams. We had to do this. And we're trying to find 12 games. And they were independent. They were trying to do that. And Notre Dame scheduled them. And when they didn't have to, and I think that is the kind of thing that does matter to them, like historically, because they've been there before. And obviously they were always a team when they were back in the WAC and all that. They were always kind of seen as like, they've always been on the fringe. They were never truly like a power conference team that was seen in the same light, even though they've been a good program for like, I would say probably if you said the last like 40 years of college football, BYU is probably a top 30 program, in the country, which means that if there was a super league where if they did it and they said they only took the top 40 teams, BYU should be in it. Like they should be. And that is a thing there. And it's also too, obviously they're both religious institutions. There's just a lot of things that kind of make sense there. And I think too, BYU, because they're going to be near the top of the Big 12, and all that. That is a game. You win that game, and all of a sudden it's like, well, BYU did exactly what they did this year, and you beat them. That's a feather in Notre Dame's cap, right? Like that is, and the exact same thing for BYU. If they win that, that's the Big 12 doesn't really play other than like Arizona State going out and like they played at Mississippi State this year or whatever. They've gone to some other places. Who else from the Big 12 is playing anybody? Like Oklahoma State, I think, played at Oregon this year, whatever, right? Oklahoma State has looked at that. But the rest of the Big 12 isn't going out and scheduling those games, right? They're not. So, of course, that's going to give you a huge advantage. And there is the risk of losing that. But I don't even think that isn't something that you're going to get killed on if you have the same conference record as this team. If you're looking at it, like that isn't going to be the difference there in the Big 12. They'll probably be applauded for it because Texas Tech's schedule is the worst strength of schedule out of any team that made it out of the group of other than out of the Power 4 teams that made it. And so they had to dominate their schedule, and they did. And they went 12-1. Great. Mm-hmm. But BYU, they had a schedule that was more in line with Notre Dame's this year because they played out of conference. They did some more things there. And good for them. That's it is the perfect kind of team to play. Is it on the USC's level in terms of like prestigious? No. But it's like a pretty darn good replacement, I think.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, because it also is like good form on their part where it's like, hey, we turned down the bowl game against you. It's not you. It's what the situation was. We'll play you in games that actually count. Like that's a much better deal for BYU, because now BYU gets the game against Georgia Tech and then they get Notre Dame. Like this worked out great for BYU. I mean, that's because it's a good opportunity for them. Right. And it's a good opportunity for Notre Dame. And Notre Dame gets over, kind of to the West Coast a little bit. I mean, it's not, it's the mountain region or whatever it might be. But I think that works out. If the 12th game is Stanford, then fine. Right. Like, because then because they already have their home games. Right. Is that true? Notre Dame already has their 6 home games.
Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep.
So are they going to add a 7th with Stanford? Like, are you going to go to Stanford for a 2nd year in a row? Like, that's kind of, it's not really like a big fan of that, but we'll have to figure it out. I mean, I would rather Stanford than like Army, or something to that effect. Okay.
If Stanford is there, I'm looking at FBS. Sorry, I was looking at FBS schedules, and they have Stanford in there.
Oh, okay.
Well, that would be the 6th home game.
Got it. Oh, okay. Got it.
So if that becomes that will be there, but I mean, they will have to find another home game, but like, I mean, it'll probably be tough to find another team, and like you have to have of kind of like an agreement, with them to do like a home and home with somebody else if you're going to get non-Stanford there, if it's a Power 4 team, or it becomes a bye game, right, where you're just getting another, in which I think Notre Dame fans wouldn't want. Like, even though Stanford is an exciting game, like they'd rather have Stanford, I'm sure, than some team from the MAC.
Yeah. Portal news: Ben Minnick is into the portal, reserve safety. It's just the safety's hard. I mean, we saw it with Kennedy Urlacher last year. Jadon Blair went into the portal. Another guy where it's like maybe in some other eras for Notre Dame, this isn't happening for him or Ben Minnick, but we are in an era where Notre Dame's secondary play is at the top of college football. They've got 3 of the best prospects coming in next year with Aiden Pouncey, Joey O'Brien, and even Nick Reddish on that front. They've got Ethan Long, who's playing, really well, or he was playing really well at the end of the season. He's intercepting passes. returning them for touchdowns, getting that called back, and then intercepting passes again. So he's kind of shown a lot to Notre Dame. You obviously have Tay Johnson, who has eligibility into next year. You have Luke Talich in eligibility next year. You have Adon Schuler, who has eligibility into next year. These are very hard positions to get into, break the lineup for Notre Dame on that front there. So, people ask for my opinion. It's hard to give an opinion on players that haven't really seen the field, other than, we kind of liked them coming out of high school, but if you want to play at safety and you're not top front line, you might have to go somewhere else to play football.
Well, I also think too that and I've seen a lot of these guys over the years, at practice, and you've seen these guys compete, and not just when they were recruits as well. And so Ben Minch is a perfect example of a guy that I would say that if you were looking at Notre Dame at an earlier time, so I started, covering the team for ISD in 2015. Mm-hmm. If you said between 2015 and 2021, really, or 2022 even, right, or whatever, I would say, well, Ben Minnick, as he currently is as a player, would have had a chance to play and could have been a contributor on, maybe not a starter, but could have been a contributor on a lot of teams during that time. And it's just, as you kind of mentioned, with all the players that they have coming in, it's just like they've leveled up in a lot of ways, right? Like, I think, and I don't mean this as a shot at guys like Ramon Henderson or DJ Brown, but it's just the fact that they wouldn't start on the last few Notre Dame teams. They wouldn't, right? Like the last couple Notre Dame teams, those guys wouldn't play because they had better players, right? Like Rod Hurd would have started over DJ Brown. Rod Hurd would have started over Ramon Henderson. Like, they would have got more opportunities, and it, not even getting into X Watts and Adon Schuler and Tay Johnson and all that. So I think it's just that's just kind of what it is. It's like how there's different times when Andrew Trumbretti was rushing the passer on third down. Well, he wouldn't have rushed the passer on third down if they were at a point when it was like Foskey and Aquara and Ogundeji and all of these guys playing together. It's like, well, he's not going to get it. That's kind of where they're at, right? It's just like they've upgraded to a certain point where they're just deeper and more talented and better. And I think it says a lot that he can probably go somewhere and play and be a good player. I think if he goes to the right spot, he's got a chance to play and be very good. And and it might be not a power 4 spot, but it could be, it could be. And so what everyone would say about Pat Coogan is well, he wasn't, he was a good player for Notre Dame, and he was third team all Big Ten this year. Well, just like Zeke Correll was third team all ACC when he was at NC State, and Clarence Lewis was third team all ACC at Syracuse. Well, we know that those guys were good players, but they're not the same level as some of the other guys. And that's just kind of how it's been. And it's just more of a reflection of where Notre Dame is at in terms of their roster.
The Pat Coogan thing, I don't want to say it bothers me, but the problem is sometimes at a position you have two startable players. It's not that dissimilar from quarterback, to be honest.
Yes,
at center,
specifically,
you don't rotate your linemen. You don't rotate your centers. So you're only playing one. And the thing is everyone keeps saying Notre Dame should have overpaid for Coogan. No, you can't overpay for someone who's not going to start for you. If Pat Coogan and Ashton Craig both transferred to Indiana, then Ashton Craig would have started there too. Ashton Craig's a better center. It doesn't mean that Pat Coogan can't also be a good center. Yes. That's not what that means. You have multiple You have multiple startable players, but if one is better, one is better. So that part of it it's unfortunate. It's one of those things. It's just unfortunate for Notre Dame, and it is fortunate for Pat Coogan. He can go to Indiana and have a good season, and obviously it worked out great for him.
Yeah,
better than like any transfer ever. But that doesn't mean that he's better than Ashton Craig is.
Yeah,
and you only play one. Like Kenny Minchie could go somewhere. Like here's the thing, right? Let's say Kenny Minchie goes to wherever. Let's say Boston College. Boston College goes 10-2 next year, and CJ Carr gets hurt in week 5. It's like, Notre Dame should have overpaid for Kenny Minchie. No, they can't. That's not going to work. They have 2 startable players. One has to go. Not has to, but is going to. So it's just like that's the situation that they're in. For Ben Minnick and Jadon Blair, like I look at a guy like KJ Wallace, who wasn't playing at Notre Dame, goes to Georgia Tech and plays like 1,000 snaps for Georgia Tech, plays good football, and more than 1,000, actually put like 1,500 snaps, plays good football, isn't on like great teams, but like played a career in the Power 4, in the ACC, played in some huge games. Like sometimes you have, we talked about this when we were talking about the running backs, right? In 90, Notre Dame had Dorsey Levens on their roster at running back, and obviously they had a loaded running back room. So what did he do? He went to Georgia Tech and became a very good player at Georgia Tech, and then he went to the pros and became a very good pro, right? Like that's what happens when you stack your roster. Jake Kelchner, you remember him?
No,
Jake Kelchner, quarterback from West Virginia, went to West Virginia because he was backing up Rick Meyer. Same kind of deal. Rick Meyer goes on to the NFL. Jake Kelchner won a bunch of games at West Virginia. Look him up. Look him up, Jamie.
Yeah.
This is the nerd in me. Speaking of Christmas, when I was like 10 or 11, I got the 1989, what's it called? Not the yearbook. The
annual?
The annual, 1989. So it was after the 88 season and before the 89 season. So you talk about the budding fandom of young Greg. Like I would sit there and I would read, like I read play-by-play. You could have the play-by-play in the thing. And I read the play-by-play of every game from 1988 season. So like when these games came out on YouTube, I knew exactly what would happen because I had already read the play-by-play. And in that was the roster. So you could go down the rosters, and Dorsey Levens was on there. Jake Kelchner was on there. Right. And it's like, oh, the West Virginia guy, like that's kind of crazy. But that's an example of what happens when you load your roster. It's a sign of a healthy program. In fact, that guys leave who are backups for you, and then they can go play somewhere else. That's the nature of how it works in college football today. Thank you for the super chat from Avalanche 1038. It's a very generous super chat. Thank you so much. Thanks for a great season, Jamie and Greg. Been listening. Usually can't make live shows. Took 3 kids to their first game this year. NC State student from 2003 to 2008. Excited for the future. I wonder if Avalanche 1038, after the 08 season, Notre Dame went to USC and said, you know what? The current scheduling isn't really working out. We need you to change the game. We can't be going to LA in November anymore. We need to change this around. And if you don't, then we're just not going to play the game. And I wonder if it would be reported the same from the powers that be, the people who write the reports. Obviously not, right? Like that would be very transparent in what was happening. But that's an important thing to figure out. Jamie, we've heard good things about Adon Schuler. We've heard good things about Jaden Greathouse, which is interesting. The Billy Strouth thing, it is like, it's one of those things where it's not just portal season, but it's like mind-changing season. So sometimes there's a vibe one way. Like Jalen Sneed, we're hearing good things about Jalen Sneed. Like Jalen Sneed was, in my opinion, from what we had heard, like at the end of last year, was like not going to be on the football team, and now it looks like he might come back for Notre Dame. I think that's a big deal. What is your take? I tell you what, man. But before I get into your take on how big a deal this is, Jalen Sneed is one of my favorite players. Like, I just think he in that Stanford game, I was watching how hard he was playing on things that, like, in a non-showboat kind of way. Because sometimes guys play hard, but it's like in a showboaty way. Like chasing down plays where it's like no one is ever going to notice this. He's not hitting someone unnecessarily and like fake hustle. Sometimes guys do the fake hustle thing. He's just playing hard. And it's like, man, this guy it's like 49-13. And maybe he's not even going to be on this team. And he's playing. I just like him. If it works out that he stays at Notre Dame, I will be delighted. I like his attitude. I think he's a team guy. And I hope he's a captain. Honestly, I don't think he will be because the natural captains on this team are kind of set. But like, I think Leonard Moore will be a captain, and I think Drake Bowen will be a captain, and I think Schuler, and I think Bowen and Schuler are back. But so like that's 3 captains on defense. But I'm telling you, I like Jalen Sneed as a person, as a football person. I don't know him personally, but as a football character, I like him. Anyway.
Well, okay. So Jalen Sneed, I think, Patrick brought up the great play he made against USC, by the way, on that was a huge play there. And the thing is like, he makes those kind of plays. He's capable of making those kind of plays. And I think about like the first play of the game against Georgia last year. That's just a guy you would want on your football team. Like, of course you'd want him on your football team.
Yeah.
And he actually he's really greatly improved as a pass rusher over the last couple of years, and it has really become a lot better, and is like a weapon there. And I think that's always super valuable on third down. I think that's something that they need, like, regardless of like, KVA is back ready or whatever. Like, I think Sneed probably could have rushed the passer more on third down anyways. So I think that's big. And, he had that kind of like dumb play where he pushed the guy in the back. I think it was against BC.
It was against BC.
Yeah. Right. And yes, was that a dumb play? It was a totally dumb play. But my argument for that kind of play is that Jalen Sneed is a guy who plays right on the edge, and sometimes he might go over it. You need guys like that on the team. You absolutely need guys like that. You need guys like that on your defense that push the limit and have an edge and have a swagger and do that kind of things where they have like a little bit extra there, because it might cost you there, but him making the play against like USC, that's part of it too. Is like, you have to have that kind of like confidence and that edge and all of that. And I think that is like really important to have, like very, very important. And KVA's got that too, right? Yeah. Well, like KVA's got like, he's got multiple, 15-yard, roughing the passer penalties and stuff like that too. It's like, well, you'll take it, like, because of everything else he brings.
All right. From Matt McCarthy, excuse me. Simple yes or no on whether players will be in a Notre Dame uniform in 2026. Billy Strouth.
I can't give a yes or no. I would say today, no, but maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to do simply. Let's go back to him in a second.
Okay, we'll go back to him. Burnham, Josh Burnham.
No.
I'll say no. Boubacar.
Yes.
Bowen.
Yes.
Sneed.
Yes.
I'll say yes. Christian Gray.
I'll say yes.
You'll say yes? Okay. Yeah. I will also say yes. I could see why no, but like it's kind of like the running back thing. Like if Notre Dame was going after Hollywood Smothers, I think we would have heard about it, and we haven't. And so I just don't think Notre Dame wants to do that.
Yeah.
I think they're fine with where things are. And I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. The other part is, like I said, I don't know for a fact that someone like Hollywood Smothers is going to change the narrative for Notre Dame. I don't know that he's that good.
Yeah.
And this is what I said on the last show. It was like at the very end. I like the idea of him, but then I was like, but the fact that I want to know how Notre Dame feels about him tells me it's probably not money they need to spend. I think they should spend it if they feel like he's that type of player, but I don't believe that he is. I think they think they can get, for whatever the price is, I think they can get it from Aeneas Williams and Nolan James and Keedron Young and some of the freshmen as well. So I think there's that piece of it. So I think Christian Gray will be back. I do. And I don't. It's not that I have a problem with that, but we're monitoring that situation. So we'll see. Adon Schuler, I assume you say yes.
Yes.
So all right, we'll go back to Strauss. Here's the thing for me on Strauss. I'll say no. Because I will lean on Matt's reporting on this. I know that there's other views out there, and I absolutely respect who that's coming from as well. 100%. I'm just going to lean on Matt. Like if Matt feels, and look, and this is why I said things change in real time, and this could change the other way, right? And guys lean. I'm telling you, Jalen Sneed was gone, and Patelho was gone, and they weren't. So guys changed their mind. Jaden Greathouse. Like I if you would have asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have said no, he's gone, and now he's not. So things change. As of today, I would say no on Strauss.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I feel, right? Where it's just like, and there are guys, I mean, numerous guys, like Sneed was a guy last year that a lot of people thought was gone, and now he might be back again.
Right.
So it's just one of those things. Like it can go like that. So, Harold Johnson.
We talked about we talked about the USC stuff.
I maybe it's just me, and I've eliminated some of I'm sure Brett McMurphy blames Notre Dame for the hiatus. Or whatever. I haven't seen a lot of people blaming, other than Dan Wolken, who's blamed Notre Dame for the hiatus. Dan Wolken and the
Ryan
other
Karcha.
Well, he's
playing stenographer for USC. Basically.
Yeah. I mean, might as well be EJ Holland. You know what I mean?
Well, he's a Michigan as well, and that's another thing to. So.
I don't know. I don't know who RJ Young is.
So he's a YouTube. I think he used to be on Fox, and now I think he has a YouTube show. That was like, it's clickbaity stuff. Like that is clear, just engagement farming. Bill Plaschke said, "Oh man, he has some of the worst." So do you know who Bill Plaschke is?
Yeah, he's
he's been on Around the Horn. He's been on Around the Horn.
Long time LA Times columnist, right?
So LA Times guy. He has some of the worst takes you've ever seen. And this is like a super deep cut for like Laker fans. There was a Kobe situation like 15 years ago, and he went in on Kobe, and I was like, this is just the worst take I've ever seen in my life. Like I have never written into, and this is before, like this is when I almost wrote into a letter to the editor, and I was like, this is not only a terrible take, it's also like factually incorrect, which is offensive to me. So, I do not think I don't think his takes are good. He might be a good writer. That may be true, but I just I don't think he has good takes. Patrick Ball says, why hard no on Burnham? I thought he was in the fold. Great show as always. I think Notre Dame is looking for an edge rusher, and they have Traore coming back, and they have Bryce Young coming back. And he probably wants snaps. I mean, he's a guy. I mean, frankly, he could go to Indiana and get a ton of snaps. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. Like,
I think it is kind of thing where, yes, we're similar to a Coogan kind of thing where it's like, he's clearly good enough to play.
Yeah.
And play a lot and be good. But
he can get 600 snaps somewhere.
He could go and play a lot more somewhere else. He, wants to make the league. He's there's that kind of thing. Probably like what he's getting offered in NIL. And this is just speculation. I don't know this for a fact. I'm just assuming, like, if I was, running NIL and I was like, okay, who are we going to give more money to, Bryce Young or Josh Burnham? You'd kind of have to give more money to Bryce Young because of what he could be and whatever. Right. So even though Burnham was like better than him this year, like that's just, and you kind of have to plan it out that way. Right. Like that's, which is why you have to make those tough decisions. So, I don't know. Like, I mean, I think he would be a great guy to still have on the roster, obviously, but
100%.
But then the other thing is like him playing well at the end of the year. Well, that upped his value. And like, so there's all these kind of things that go into it.
Yeah. It's difficult.
Burnham was not the best. Josh Burnham was very good, but he was not the best. Cause I saw this too. It's like Boubacar, like there was like somehow like a Boubacar. Yeah. Boubacar. I thought he was going to be better. Guy had 11 tackles for loss. Like he was very good versus the run. He was by far the best pass rusher. Like teams didn't chip any other of the defensive ends other than him. Like they paid special attention to him. He was by far the best defensive end on the team. It wasn't close.
Good. Yeah. Like Burnham was playing well at the end of the season. Like 100%. Like I'm not trying to take anything away, but we also can't, we can't eliminate, what Boubacar was doing and some of the things that Bryce Young did, and like you said, that the upside for Bryce Young is enormous as he gets into being an upperclassman. So I think we can end it there. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. If you like what you heard, hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. So whenever it is, we are going live. We'll be back next week. We've got obviously Christmas on Thursday. Once again, Merry Christmas to all of you. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Hope everyone has a great holiday. You too, Jamie, to you and your family.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. And we'll be back next week, hopefully with some news on, good news on Marcus Freeman. Might be some portal stuff going on. And there's going to be some, I guess there's a little bit before the next playoff games. We didn't talk about the playoffs. I don't want to talk about the playoffs. I don't want to talk about that. All right. So have a good rest of your day, everyone. We will talk to you when we get back. Keep hitting and hustling.